morning 3 and I'm wearing down. I'm just kidding. Like my legs are feeling it. The bee stings yesterday did not help, but this is the third day in a row I get here and Dre already has everything loaded up. So I'm loving working with this kid. He's trimming everything. He's doing all this kind of stuff. We got a lot of rain yesterday, so we're gonna start by sharpening the blades, at least on the 48, because the zero turns only cut one lawn since it was sharpened last. So we're gonna sharpen these blades real quick, and then we're gonna mow these lawns around here in this neighborhood because it did rain a lot and these aren't like the nicest lawns. So I figure we'll let some of the other ones dry out and we'll get these cut and then we'll keep it moving. I meant to say yesterday when I started the video, thanks for all the likes and comments. When I put out that first video in a long time, it really meant a lot. So really encouraging me to make more videos, and I really honestly have a ton of content coming. So if you're along for the ride, I would greatly appreciate it. But we gotta get to work. See you soon. Okay, so it's time to wake the neighborhood up because we're about to mow that lawn, I think that lawn, and then the two back here on the corner. So 4 house stop, start off the day, 8 o'clock in the morning. Here we go. Okay, so we just cut them 4 lawns. That may have been the worst mowing experience of my life. Like, there was more grass or more weeds than grass on every single lawn. There were the bumpiest lawns, like, I don't know if it was ruts. I think part of it was ruts from the mower, moles, which I understand moles, they're a real pain. You know, it's hard to deal with the moles, but just like uneven spots. The grass was so long. I guess all these are two weeks. I see the pricing, they're all underpriced. So just the fact that knowing that we were not getting paid enough, you know, even though I don't own the company, I'm just helping out. Really frustrating. Tons of trimming around just a bunch of crap. I mean, it was just really painful experience. So if you have lawns like that, like good for you if you can man through that. But I would like have to drop these customers if this was my company, because that's embarrassing. There's so many scalp marks. Like, I don't scalp, but there's a bunch of scalp marks because just the lawn was way too bumpy and I could not tell that there was, you know, dips and all this. So it was terrible. Hopefully the day gets better from here for sure. Okay, real quick regarding the thumbnail and the video title, 3.5 inches is not 3.5 inches sometimes, because if you noticed, the deck was set at 3.5 inches and the pin was not movable. So like I didn't have a hammer and all this stuff with me to like attempt to remove the pin, but the pin is jammed in that 3.5 inch slot. But as I was cutting, and I noticed it for the first time on these lawns, and then it more and more lawns, the more lawns I cut with the zero turn, I was getting more and more convinced that it was not cutting at 3.5 inches. And then we got back, unfortunately, at the end of the week, and I told Dre, I was like, remind me when we get back, because I am going to stick something under the deck. I'm going to drop the deck down and measure how high the blade is off the ground. And it was literally 2.5 inches off the ground. So you cannot trust the numbers on your mower deck, because there's linkage, there's tire pressure, there's a bunch of other things over and beyond that setting that is actually what's going to determine the actual cut height. So I don't know how long the deck has been stuck at 3.5, but I could either cut at 3.5 or transport mode. So obviously transport mode was too high, and that is the reason why I was scalping more than I wanted to, or more than ever. Like, I've never scalped that much combined total mowing in my whole life than I mowed last week, only with the zero turn, and it was very frustrating. And there's so many lawns where I wanted to cut at a higher setting just because the grass was clumping up so much, but I could not move that pin. The pin is jammed in there. It's going to be a real pain to get out because it's happened to me. I literally had that same mower when I was working. So that's a major learning tip for you right there. Do not trust that whatever that setting on that zero turn says that is the height you're cutting at, because I know for a fact on my mowers, different mowers, same make, model, all that kind of stuff, but I know that the height was not accurate based on that little reading where you dropped the pin, and then got back to Billy's place and measured that and literally cutting at 2.5 inches, and I was looking at the lawns, like they're burning up. Like all these lawns that are getting cut with the zero turn are like looking much worse than the other lawns, and it's because they're getting cut down to the ground. And I hadn't been cutting grass very much, so I was like, is my perception off? Is what's going on here? But no, I was right. It's literally cutting the grass down to the ground. So Billy really needs to address that ASAP. When I get back in next week, I'm gonna try to fix it. But major issue, and something for you to keep an eye on in your business so that doesn't happen to you. Okay, so the next lawn was literally down the street, and much better, much more enjoyable. I think we're gonna be in and out about 13 minutes from this one. It took us an hour and 45 minutes to cut those last 4 lawns, which was just way too long. I don't really know why it took that long. But while I'm thinking about it, I'm noticing a bunch of stuff that Billy's particularly not doing in his business. So I'm gonna make a video pretty soon on stuff just like that you may not know if you didn't work for a company for years and years and years like I did before I started my business, and then continue to learn as I was running my business. Because Billy's kind of like, I just want to make X number of dollars and that's cool and blah blah blah, and I'm like, well, I want everything to go super smooth and make a ton of money and blah blah blah. So but like what was really frustrating me on the lawns over there is the zero turn pin is stuck at 3.5 inches. I could either cut at transport height or 3.5 inches. And not that I really wanted to take the time to cut the double cut, the grass on grass, because there's so much grass just laying on top of the grass after I cut it. But if you have to do that, if you raise the deck up a half inch or so, when you go through and make that pass to cut the grass on grass, blow it around, like it goes so much smoother. So we're on to a real big one. Should be interesting. I'll catch it in a little bit. Okay, so I didn't actually film anything at the big lawn, but what I wanted to show you right here is just the amount of weeds and just kind of the crappy landscape and everything about these properties. Right here I'm pointing out the low branches smacking me in the face as I'm trying to mow under the trees, and then I give you a nice look at the quality of the grass. It's literally like all weeds that we're cutting. Just makes it very frustrating for me. Okay, so I'm starting to think that we named this company wrong. I know this is ridiculous, but we just cut that lawn right there with the flag. Obviously Dre's blown it off, but I mean, we should have called this company B&B Weed Mowing Company, because that is all we're cutting. It is so frustrating. I knew this neighborhood and I was like, oh, it's gonna be halfway decent lawn. No, it was just straight full of weeds. I mean, the landscape is just completely overgrown. There probably hasn't been mulched in 5 years. I mean, I don't know if this is COVID related or what, but the government's giving away money and ain't nobody spending it on their lawn and landscape around here, at least. I mean, this is ridiculous. Man, I like cutting really nice lawns, and we are not cutting nice lawns. So I'm hoping when we get to the Thursday and Friday route that they're nice lawns, because typically you would have your nicer lawns towards the weekend. That would make sense, but it's been nonstop just crap lawns, one after the other after the other after the other. And I don't know why they're so long. Have they not been cutting grass for the past couple weeks? And they're just like, oh, Ryan's gonna be cutting soon. Just give them all the long grass. This is ridiculous. So sometimes I wonder, was selling my business the right decision? And it's cutting grass like this, I wouldn't want to do this. But I don't know. So I got a whole nother week of mowing, 5 days more of mowing. So we'll see how I feel at the end of this little stint. But I think I'm gonna retire to caring for my own lawn and landscape after this little lawn mowing experiment, helping Billy out while he is out of town. Okay, so as we watch Dre real quick, there's a very nice landscape. Of course, it's across the street, but we finally found a really nice landscape. But what I wanted to show you here is the directions of those lines right there. I went diagonal. Yes, it was a little bit of a pain going, up and down that hill instead of side to side like Billy had been doing. But when I turn the camera over here, I'll show you the house again. But I'll flip the camera around and show you that's where everyone's driving down the street. So those 45s will look really good. Not that the parallel lines wouldn't, but you know what I'm saying. More people would see that and it would look really cool, especially now that it's cross-hatched. And what I'm showing you in this one is that looked like an unassuming front yard. But as you come around to the back, Dre was trying to explain to me what's going on back here. I mean, it is just kind of insane. Like not usable space. Like I would never buy a house like this, but it's just tier after tier after tier of crap grass with random plants and junk and everything else to trim around. So you know, that's kind of why it's important not to just look at the street view or something like that when you're quoting a property, because you may walk into something like this in the backyard if you are not doing a little bit of due diligence. So at least pull it up on the you know, not the street view but the aerial view and look down on it. So here's another example of just a lawn that I got no pleasure in cutting. Like more weeds than grass once again. All these little slopes in the front. I mean, the front yard was tiny. Ended up trimming out a lot of it because, you know, just would have scalped with the mower. But you know, normally I'd trim out weeds in the cracks and stuff like that, but I'm like, here, look at it. They're a Bengals fan, so that explains a lot. I am in Cincinnati, I can say stuff like that. But you know, look at the weeds growing up on the front of the house. I mean, we come to this one last look. We come to this Taxus right here. Like that thing has been dead for I don't even know how many years. I mean, pull it out of the ground. And then what really frustrated me about this house, and I mean, you know, especially for Dre, is look at all this stuff to trim around. And it is just, you know, the play set's one thing. That's a different story, but that crap over there, these chairs in the yard, like you're not using that fire pit. So why is it here? One thing I also wanted to point out is the grass left on that slide. I'd already talked to Dre about blowing grass off of the play equipment like that. So I can't believe I didn't catch that, because I really wish that would have been blown off for the kids that live at this house. But yeah, make sure you're doing that kind of stuff. Swings, trampolines, slides, just blow the grass off that stuff, and make sure, you know, the kids have a nice area to play in. But here's another example. We're in a nicer neighborhood and the landscape's still just kind of really crappy. I should have walked around to the backyard. I mean, the backyard essentially looked like this left side of the house where it's just weeds in the beds, overgrown plants, and so on and so forth. I mean, that's the gist of everything. And then this wheel right here, like that car's not even moving. I just don't understand. But at least when we get to the front yard here, like they did seem to put a little bit of time, effort, and money or something into this front landscape at one point. It does look like it needs a little bit of upkeeping to bring it back to its glory. But, you know, at least, you know, 1/4 of the house had a decent landscape on it this time. But until the next video, you already know, keep making money.